Okay. All right, Viggy Parr Hampton, thank you so very much for joining me for Sophie Stories Off the Page. It's nice to have you back. It's so
Yeah,
great to have you as a guest. I have to say, I am so proud of you. You
thank
have
you.
your fifth book that just came out, yes, July 29th, ripped up the middle in two, and you're going to give us a special treat and read the first page. And I'm thinking, why don't you go ahead and do that, and then we'll dive in. Is that
You
okay?
got it. Yes. Okay, this is chapter one. It's called, Is This Really the Best Use of Your Time? Is this really the best use of your time? Cash asks as he walks into the dining room, startling me. I'm painting a fairy door I ordered on Amazon, the wood thin and brittle, more likely to break than to bend. There are milk and spit up stains on my shirt, and my head is fuzzy from lack of sleep. He sidles up next to where I'm seated at the dining table and gestures at the bottles of outdoor acrylic paint, cheap paintbrushes, and flimsy miniature wooden doors. I thought you were on the golf course. I was supposed to be, but something happened to the first tee box. It got destroyed. Somebody put nails all over the grass, if you can believe it, he says. Course is closed until they fix it. Probably some stupid kids ruining it for everybody. I accidentally flick a spot of cotton candy pink onto a stripe of sky blue. Damn it, I say, scowling. Sadie, Cash says, leaning over me, Holly won't even know the doors are there. Hell, she won't even be able to grasp the concept of a fairy for years at least. I keep my eyes on the door, trying to scrape away the pink blemish with my fingernail, but only succeed in smearing it around into a purplish blob. I don't care. Cash sits next to me, getting his face way too close to mine. Go take a nap, huh? You'll feel much better after you get some sleep. Clearly, he won't let me ignore him. I lay the door on the plastic covered table and look at him. Whereas I look like a survivor of a zombie apocalypse, Cash looks like he just stepped out of the pages of GQ. How does he do that? He's a new parent too. Why is he allowed to take care of his appearance and I can't take care of mine?
This is great. So this is the setup for what's going to turn into a horror story, a
Yes.
psychological horror story.
Mhm.
I, I'm curious, how did this story come about?
So, a lot of this came from my own postpartum experience because I think universally nobody tells you the truth about motherhood. You hear that, oh, just sleep when the baby sleeps. It's so sweet. It's such a wonderful, beautiful, calming time. It could not be further from the truth. When I was postpartum, I looked my worst, I felt my worst, and I acted my worst. And I wanted to write a book that was cathartic for me, but also showed motherhood the way it really is, especially in those first few weeks postpartum, because we have plenty of books that are pregnancy horror. I mean, think about Rosemary's Baby. But there's not very much that focuses on the newborn stage when you as a mother are a completely different person. And I thought that's naturally very horrific, so let's write a novel about it. I mean, that's what I do.
Well, I love it. So would you say, so in the book, the baby cries a lot.
Mhm.
So is she colic, or she just happens to cry a lot? Was it something you experienced as a young mother too?
Yes, I mean, I will say neither of my kids had colic, but there would be, I remember when my son was about that age, for an hour every night around 8 o'clock, he would cry. He would be inconsolable. He wasn't hungry. He didn't have to go to the bathroom. He would just cry. And I would just put subtitles on the TV and just keep watching. And my husband would be next to me being like, How can you stand that? Like, I have no other choice. That's how I stand it. And I think that's how a lot of mothers feel. It's like you get through it because there is no other choice, but that doesn't mean it's not excruciatingly difficult.
I know. And yeah, it's like your whole life changes once you have a kid. And I don't think
Mhm.
people really realize that. So what inspired the horror element
Mhm.
of this?
So there are two types of horror in this. There's the psychological horror from New Motherhood, which we've kind of gone over. There's already a lot of horror in that. But then I brought in the supernatural horror of this evil Rumpelstiltskin-like creature that lives in the woods. Only our main character, Sadie, can ever really find his tree where his evil little door is, and it disappears whenever anybody else is with her. And I thought it was really interesting to pair those two types of horror together because, I mean, there's such a thing as postpartum psychosis, where you have auditory and visual hallucinations along with a lot of other symptoms. And so I thought, let's keep the reader on their toes and think, she doesn't know what's real, Sadie. You don't know what's real either. And I think that adds to making you uncomfortable, which is my entire goal.
That's so awesome. All right, so what happens to the cash in the story?
I don't want to give away any spoilers, but I will say Cash is not a bad guy. Cash is Sadie's husband, and so many people have said, I hate Cash. He's horrible. What the worst husband ever. But he is not a bad guy. I think for a lot of women, this is a very typical experience of the husband. Because, as the mom, you probably read the baby books, you read the blogs, you know where all the diapers are, you planned everything, you did the nesting phase. And the husband maybe just sat by and said, Great, she's got that covered. But then when the baby comes, he still thinks, Great, she's got that covered. And that's where the problems come from. I call it weaponized incompetence because it's so much easier sometimes to do something yourself than to explain to somebody else how to do it. And if you do that over and over and over, a lot of resentment builds up. And that's what we see going on with Sadie and Cash.
All right, do they stay together?
You will have to get to the end of the book.
Oh man, okay. I have to admit, I'm only about one third through. I really wanted to have it done by the time we talked, so I'm really sorry. But
That's
I
okay.
will.
I don't want to give away any spoilers because this has a good twist at the end.
Okay, and I have to say, I can't wait to have my hard copy because I know the book
Yes,
just came out yesterday, and reading online is just not quite the same as having it in your hot little hand. That's for sure. So
true.
how do you prefer reading yourself?
I usually always have an audiobook, an ebook, and a physical book going at the same time, all different books.
Oh,
So it really depends. I will say the experience of reading a physical book, it does feel different than reading an ebook because, I mean, so often in our daily lives we're, scrolling on our phones. And even though I have a Kindle, it does still feel like another screen.
mm,
So I love physical books, but I do have to say it is very convenient to have a Kindle because I read 100 or more books a year,
wow.
and I do not have the storage space for that. So having a Kindle has been really useful. But all three, I would say all three ways of reading are very valid, and I love them all.
Oh, that's so great. And keep your books. It's like I was hearing about AI destroying books. I'm like, no, no, keep your books.
Mm.
And I was
Yeah.
like, don't give them up. So
Hmm.
I think every book is a piece of art, and you have
Hmm.
created five pieces of art, these
Thank you.
incredible stories, and so of the five you've written, which would you say is your favorite?
Oh, that is okay. I will say Ripped Up the Middle and Two has my favorite cover. I
Okay.
love the yellow. I love the angst. I mean, my cover designer always does a great job, but this one I just feel, I mean, you immediately see this and you're like, I need to know what that's about. So that's really hard. I think probably A Veritable Household Pet is still my favorite just because it's so different and I had to do so much research for it and it's very emotional. But I also love Much Too Vulgar. Obviously, it's in the same universe. I don't know. It's like the newest one becomes my favorite child. So if you ask me again in a year, I'll probably say it's the new book.
Well, you're not supposed to have a favorite child, are you?
You're not supposed to, but show me an author who doesn't have a favorite book.
Well, you love something out of all of them, right?
Yes, that's absolutely true. Each one of them has, I mean, Rotting Room, obviously I dressed up as that for Halloween last year. I mean, each one of them is fun in its own way.
Are you going to dress up in any way for Ripped Up in the Middle?
I tried to convince my now 5-year-old daughter, I was like, let's be evil fairies for Halloween. And she said, no, she doesn't want to do a family costume. She wants to be something else on her own.
Oh,
So I don't know. I might dress up as an evil fairy. We'll see.
okay. I do want to show a picture of what this evil fairy looks like.
I sure do. And speaking about books being pieces of art, I have been very lucky to work with artists on all of my books, but this one has illustrations by the wonderful Joey Powell. And there are four of them throughout the book, and he did an excellent job of bringing these scenes to life. And because it's a dark fairy tale, I thought we need some illustrations. So his version of our evil fairy, here we go.
Oh, that looks really scary. I have to say, it it kind of reminds me of Gollum from Lord of the
Yes,
Rings, right?
very much so, like a miniature, nasty little golem. Yeah.
Right. It's like so it has that definitely. So have you worked with him on all your books?
I have not. This is my first book he's done illustrations for. I've worked with other artists in the past, or some of my other books, I've done my own little figures beforehand. But yeah, Joey is amazing, and I'm sure I will work with him again in the future.
So what is it like working with someone like that on that kind of collaboration?
I love working with other creatives. Same with my cover designer. I think it's so much fun to meet somebody who is an expert in their field and I say, I have this story. Here's kind of what I'm thinking, but you show me what you think. You show me what you can do. And that's what my cover designer does. That's what Joey did. And it's just so much fun to be able to see how they see my work. You know what I mean? And interpret it in their own way.
Have you ever had a disagreement where you felt like it just wasn't jiving?
Not really, honestly. My cover designer knows me well enough now to know exactly what I like and kind of the brand. And Joey was super easy to work with. I mean, he got it right away, but then if there was like little tweaks or something that I needed, he was like, "Yes, I got you." And everything is perfect about this book. I love it so much.
So do you think there might be any type of sequel for this book?
I don't know. I feel like I said all I needed to say about motherhood with this, and this is a more plot-driven, theme-driven story with a
Mm.
very strong message about motherhood, whereas something like Much Too Vulgar is very much a character-driven story. So Keely will get more books. She already has. So I think I want to see what she does next, whereas with this book, I'm like, I said all I need to say. So I don't see there being a sequel, but I will never say never.
Okay. Well, I have to say that you have two children and you experienced
Yes.
postpartum after your second child. Do you think had you experienced that after your first child, you would have even had a second child?
Well, actually, my first child was the harder one,
Oh,
for
really?
sure. Yes, my second child, I didn't have any diagnosed postpartum depression with either one, but my hormones were all over the place. And with the first child, I mean, you don't know. You can read all the baby books you want, but it does not prepare you for what it's actually like. And after my first child, I said, I don't want to have another one. I'm done. We're done. And my husband convinced me, let's have one more, which I am absolutely thrilled that we did. But when you have just had that child and somebody's like, "So, when's the next one coming?" You just want to punch that person in the face because you're like, "I cannot handle this one right now. I don't even want to talk about a second
Right.
one." But it
Yeah.
does get easier, but that's not a helpful thing to say to somebody who's right in the thick of it.
Oh, yeah, you never say that. No,
Mm-mm.
but yeah, motherhood is not easy when people say, oh, it's so
Mm-mm.
great. No, there's just so many things. You figure the first time you hold a little wiggling baby for the first time, they're so slippery and kind of slimy. It's like you don't want to drop them,
I
and
know.
you're trying to be so careful. It's like okay, they're not quite breakable, but the way they wiggle so much. And
Yes.
then when they have their little explosions, there's a lot of horror in that. People don't realize, like,
Yes.
right? And then you have to deal with them talking back to you as a 2-year-old, or a
Yeah.
3-year-old, but then as a teenager, it's like you're not there yet, but there's a lot of horror in parenting that people don't
Mhm.
really talk about,
There's horror, but like this book also has a lot of humor in it, and a lot of that does come from, I mean, when you're in the thick of it, things like diaper blowouts, like using a snot sucker for the first time, those things are horrifying, but then looking back on them, you're like, that's pretty funny. So
right.
that's what I drew on for this, but I also pulled a lot of humor out of the yoga moms,
Mm.
which I mean, everybody knows a yoga mom. She's that Instagram perfect mom who's always baking homemade bread in perfect coordinated athleisure, and her children are beautiful and clean. And I think there's such a huge chasm between expectation and reality for new moms because you see somebody like that and you think, why am I not like that? But even they aren't really like that all the time. So
Right.
that's another place where the horror and the humor mingle because if you're looking at that from the outside in, you're thinking, this is horrifying. Why am I not who I should be? But when you're looking at it from the other side, you're like, that's hilarious. Nobody is like that.
They can't be, right?
Hmm.
Unless they have like tons of money and have people doing everything for them, right?
Exactly, in which they do not show on Instagram. So even then, what they show you is never the real truth.
Right. What would you say was the hardest moment having postpartum and your two little kids at the same time?
Well, just, I mean, when you have two, you can't rest very much because when the newborn goes down for a nap, you still have a 2-year-old who is on a different nap schedule. So that you don't really get to rest like you do if you just have one. But I mean, I think giving birth was one of the most athletic things I have ever done. And you're exhausted. You've been in my case, I was in labor for almost 24 hours with both of them. And so I'm just thinking, oh, I can't wait to get some rest. And then the nurses hand you the baby and say, have fun, and tell you a bunch of things and then just leave the room. And you don't get to sleep. You're in pain. And that was one of the hardest things ever. Those 2 nights in the hospital after having each one of my children were some of the hardest nights ever because you can't get comfortable. You can't sleep. There's a baby who needs you. In the case with my first one, I didn't know what I was doing, and I was afraid every second, and that was hard. So I would say those were the hardest parts. Once you can at least be back in your own home, it gets a little bit easier.
Right. Yeah. Being in a strange place. Now, your husband was with you, right?
Yes,
Okay, good. That makes a big
both
difference.
times.
That's good.
Yeah. it made a little bit of a difference, but then he'd, be like, "Oh, Vig, can you be a little bit quiet? I'm trying to sleep." And I'm like, "Excuse me?" He also ate a salami sandwich in the delivery room while I was in labor, which was a horrible choice. That was a horrible choice. Now I can laugh about it, but at the time I was like, "Why would you pick the most fragrant meat to eat in this room at this moment?"
That is quite a visual, and it's kind of funny though.
It is funny. It is for the first one, he was eating popcorn while I was like having contractions. I'm like, is this like seeing a movie for you? You having fun over there?
Oh my God. All right. Well, were you in labor a long time or?
With both of them, I was in labor over 12 hours. Not active labor the whole time, but it took a while. Yeah.
Oh, so sorry. Well, you have two beautiful children. So,
I do. It was all very worth it, but I do not want to go through it ever again.
and you used it for a horror film or a
I
horror.
did.
See, I'm already
I'm
film. So there you go.
This would make a great film, our next one.
Right. Okay. And I have to say, I love your writing style. I love how
Thank
you
you.
have your little twists and turns and, all the subtext and the layers of all the characters. Like every character is fascinating. It's like you just have all these layers like, ooh, this is kind of cool. So I love that. I just
Thank
love
you.
it.
I'm just not interested in any wooden characters, any caricatures of people, because I think that's one of the most interesting things to me about a book is why is a person that way? And I want to understand that. And so I try to write all of my characters with some level of nuance or depth so that leaves you thinking, I want to hear about it from her perspective. I want to hear about it from his perspective. And then they feel more like real people and you care about what happens to them. You know what I mean?
Oh, exactly. So would you say this book, I kind of think it's geared for women, but would you say it's good for men too, or anyone who loves horror?
100%. I've had a lot of moms say every mom should read this, and then they also say, and their husbands or partners, because I think if you are a man and you don't read the baby books, maybe you read this one to kind of know what your partner, your wife is going through. Because I've also said if they knew what was going through our minds during this period, they'd probably run away and never come back. But since they can't do that, let's go ahead and give them a tool to help them develop their empathy and answer some of those questions that the mom is just too tired to respond to.
Right, exactly. All right, so what is your favorite part about this book? Do you have a favorite?
Oh. I love the yoga moms. They were so fun for me to write. I love anybody who's like just a little bit nasty and you know who they are. Like you can picture this person in real life and you probably know this person in real life too. And it's just fun to see people like that get their comeuppance. So any scene with that, there was humor in there, there was a little bit of nastiness in there, and they were just so much fun. Anytime they're in the scenes, I really enjoy those.
Now, would you say you knew a lot of yoga moms yourself?
I'm gonna remind everybody this is fiction, but yes.
Okay, now and you wrote it set in Savannah, and that's where you
Mhm.
live. How do you like writing where you live as opposed to creating outside worlds?
I love it because I mean, so much of this was based on my real neighborhood. We've got the live oaks with the Spanish moss. We have this undeveloped area where there's woods and forests and all kinds of animals. And that's really fun for me to bring in because I can visualize it so easily. And when I write a book that takes place somewhere where maybe I haven't been or I haven't lived, I have to do a lot more research, which I don't mind at all, but writing somewhere that I know is always really fun for me, just bringing it to life. And like we've talked about before, Savannah is a very cinematic place and it's very spooky. So setting a book like this here, perfect.
Works. That's so awesome. That's so very cool. I would love to see the locations where you have her going on her walks, where she puts her fairy door up.
Oh, I
That's
will show you. I will
right.
show you happily.
Okay, that sounds like a really cool thing. Didn't you
Yeah.
do a TikTok video, I think, of walking in that area? I think you
I
did.
did. I did a book trailer where I was literally walking along the same paths that I walked when I was postpartum, and the tree that I describe in the book is based on a real tree here in my neighborhood. So I went to that real tree and I tried to, make it as realistic as possible. And yeah, that was fun for me because some of these places, I make up, but some of these places are very real.
And the dog. That's
Yes,
Tater
Tater
Tot.
Tot.
That's
Tater
your
Tot is really my dog. Yeah.
all right. That's so very cool. How long have you had your dog?
He just turned 7.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, and a lot of the things that he experiences in the book, like, I don't know if you've gotten to the part where the dog throws up bones yet. That really happened, and it was horrifying.
Wait, he threw up bones? How did that happen?
We think I mean, there's no leash mandate in this neighborhood, so he's off leash. And
Oh,
sometimes he will go off and eat things at like construction sites or in somebody's trash. And we think he ate some chicken bones and
oh,
like drumsticks.
oh.
And oh gosh, that was disgusting. He's fine, but it was so gross.
Or maybe he ate some dead fairies.
You never know. I
You
didn't
never
look
know.
too closely at the bones when they came back up.
Right? It's Savannah. It's the
Yeah,
most haunted city in the country. You never
yeah.
know. Well, that's so cool. Well, when I meet you and your dog, I would love to get a picture of Tater Tot too. That'd be so fun.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's a star.
He's a beautiful dog. Yeah, very cool. All right, so if people want to read your book, how can they get it?
So you can get Ripped Up the Middle in Two anywhere books are sold. Hardcovers, the hardcovers are case laminate. They're very pretty. These are exclusively on Amazon, but ebooks and paperbacks are available everywhere. Check out your library, your indie bookstore, bookshop.org, Barnes and Noble. And if you want a signed or personalized copy, you can DM me on Instagram or on TikTok at Viggy Parr Hampton.
That's are all your books in the library?
I know the Rotting Room is, and I've seen that in several libraries. I don't know about the others, but if it's not in your library, you can go request it, and then your library can buy a copy.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, do you think you'll have an Audible book for this soon?
I sure hope so. A Veritable Household Pet, which is my previous book, the audiobook for that one comes out on September 29th. So I sincerely hope that this one will also get turned into an audiobook.
Oh, that's so great. Now, do you have an audiobook for all of them except for this?
Ye yes, I
Oh,
do.
that's so great. Okay. And if people want to get the Audible books, that's also on Amazon, right?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, that's so exciting. You go. Oh my God. No, it's like you're my hero. No, it's like when
Oh,
you set your mind to something, you get it done. And it's like you
thank
don't
you.
it is. And I just love that. I really admire that. And
Thank you.
young kids need to see that. Yes, if you have a dream and a desire, you can do it. No
Thank you.
excuses. So I
I
love
also think it's like very inspiring because I see this when I see a mom who can also do all these other things and just shows that your identity doesn't start and stop with you being a mom. There are so many other things that you can do. And if you want to be an author, if you want to be a screenwriter, if you want to do something else, you don't have to not do that because you're a mom. You know what I
it.
mean? And
Yeah,
that's just nice to see. I think we need to see more of that.
I agree. And you have to give yourself the permission to do that. So
Yeah.
being a great role model for your daughter and your son, that
Thank you.
if you have these dreams and these thoughts, I mean, everything starts with that. And you come up with
Mhm.
these incredibly scary stories. It's like they really get you thinking, which I really like too. And these personalities, and it's just like, wow, where did this come from? And I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. And it's not,
Yeah.
it's part of you, but it's not you. So it's just kind of nice to see.
That's what I have to keep reminding my husband.
Yeah, it's like, you know. Well, I can't wait till your kids are teenagers, what you're going to be inspired to write then.
Oh my gosh, I know. I mean, I know my daughter at least wants to read the book. So when she's old enough, people have said, "Will you let her read them?" Of course. Of course I'll let her read them.
Uh, but she might inspire you to write quite a few books.
She already will. Yeah, she already has. Yep.
She's adorable though. I mean, both your kids are so freaking cute.
Thank you.
You have great kids. Anyway, well, I'm just so excited, and I'm going to put this out there. We're developing Much Too Vulgar into a screenplay,
Mhm.
or we into a movie, and this is just so exciting to share this experience with you. And I
Mhm.
know we're still in the early stages, and time just seems like it's going by so fast, but
Yeah.
just the way you're such a motivator and you get things done, and your attention to detail and just your willingness to take that leap is so exciting, because I think so many people are afraid of taking that leap, or they'll have
Mhm.
excuses and fear gets in the way. And it's like, what do we got to lose, right?
True.
It's like, we'll just
You're great about that. I mean, right back at you, all of that. I love how optimistic and motivated you are. I'm like, we're doing this. We got
Yes, we
this.
are. And oh my God, much too vulgar is awesome. And I see Ripped Out the Middle and Two as part of that universe. Somehow,
Mhm.
some way, maybe we have Ani, the airhead Ani, taking a yoga class. I don't know,
She
where
would do that. That would be
right
totally right up her alley.
with
Hmm.
her frappuccino in hand, so
Hmm.
like, but I'm sure she figures everything out. Well, people have to read the book, at the end, but I could see her doing yoga, you know, but
I
it's
could see that.
we are doing our Instagram lives every other week. So it's like people can catch us there. We've talked about Summerween, which this book falls right into Summerween,
Totally. Very summary book.
right? And we've talked about a lot of fun things. And with Halloween coming up in just a few weeks, we're gonna have a lot of juicy stuff to talk about. You know,
Oh, yeah.
and then
I've written a lot of summary books for some reason. I think three, yeah, three of my books have been in summer and two have been kind of all over the place in terms of timeline. I don't know.
oh,
I'm just really drawn to books that take place in a really hot climate.
well, yeah, isn't it hot like 24/7 year
Oh
round?
my gosh, it is hot here, especially this summer. It's been an extremely hot summer. So this is actually a picture of me when I go outside every day.
Yeah, how about storms? You get a lot of storms there?
I wish we got more. It would cool it down. But in general, yeah, we get a lot of rainstorms, but not enough.
Well, you are my favorite author and you're so
Thank you.
prolific and I love it. And I know you're working on a new book right now,
Mhm.
right? And what's your timeline roughly for that?
So that one, I have the first draft done. Then, as soon as my kids start back at school next week, I will dive into edits for that. It will go to my editor in September, and then I'm hoping to have that published in late March, early April.
That's so
And I'm really excited about it. It's a time travel twist on a haunted house story. And again, very different from the other stuff I've done, but I think when you read it, you'll be like, yes, Viggy Parr Hampton wrote that.
Oh, I love it. Okay. And people need to buy your books. I have my collection. I love my collection,
Thank you.
and the latest, Ripped Up the Middle in Two. Oh, that title, I love it. Be sure to, and are they all now available in hardback?
Yes, all
Okay.
of them.
All right. So I have my paperback collection. Now I have to start working on my hardback collection.
Mhm.
So I will have both. And I just need to get you to sign them. So I'll figure that out too.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay, cool. Well, I think you are absolutely amazing, and I love your books, and I can't wait to finish reading Ripped Up to the Middle. I just, again, chills. That needs to be a t-shirt too. That would that image would look cool on
That
t-shirt.
would be a great
Right.
t-shirt.
Anyway,
Mhm.
so I think you are amazing, and I
Thank
can't
you.
wait to finish reading the book, and then we'll talk more about that. And
I can't wait to see what you think when you read that last chapter.
I'm so excited. All right, well, thank you so much. Is there anything that you'd like to share with my audience before we sign off?
Thank you so much to everybody who reads and reviews my books. I mean, the biggest thing for me is if you recommend a book, if you repost something, if you talk about it to somebody else, that is the best possible thing you can do for an indie author, especially. So thank you.